Hi guys, this is Dr. Politano with Anneker Clinics of Chiropractic. Just checking in again. I know we talked a lot before about like movement and exercises and everything like that, gave you a few ideas to do at home. So now what I want to talk to you about is keeping your body loose, keeping your muscles pliable, everything like that, and just to really avoid like tightening up while we're doing a lot more sitting and relaxing. So I just want to go over a few things to really loosen up your pelvis, loosen up your legs, and everything like that, just to really try and avoid like low back tightness, realistically. So the first one, and I know a lot of people have done it before, and I know in our office we actually tell you to not sit with your legs crossed, but we're going to break our rule. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring one leg up, and so what we're going to do here is this is really going to stretch our glute muscles. So just to make a point, so what we'll do is bring your knee up, and we're going to lean down to it. And so what that's going to do is it's really going to get into the bigger glute muscles here. And so we really want to bring it across, so diagonally up towards the opposite shoulder, and we want to come down to it if you want a deeper stretch. So what I also want to add in is the lower that you put your knee is the more you're going to incorporate the smaller muscles that make a really big impact in your hips. So your piriformis muscle, your glute minimus, your glute medius, like things like that. That make a really big impact as far as like tightening up that a lot of people don't really think about. So the lower you put your knee is the more you're really going to isolate those muscles. And so this is going to be a little more difficult as far as comfort. And so we'll have you do here is we're going to have your knee all the way down, and we're just going to lean forward. And so that's all we're going to do, and you're really going to feel that stretch all through here in the bottom of your glute, but then in the side of your hip as well. And these muscles are really important because a lot of nerves come under there, especially, I know it's a buzzword, but our sciatic nerve comes under there. And so we really want to keep those muscles as loose and limber as possible, just to really take the pressure off. And so we're going to come in here and just come straight down to it. And if you really want to get more active with it, you can bring your leg up and bring you even further down, and that's really going to get into that hip area. And make sure anytime you do stretches, if you're going to do something to one side, make sure to do it to the other side. And so we really just want to hold these stretches for about 15 to 20 seconds because it really activates that stretch complex and just allows those muscles to lengthen. And so like I said, anytime you do one thing to one side, make sure you do it to the other. And just really make sure to even out your body no matter what you're doing, whether it's lifting or stretching or anything like that, just to try to make sure to keep that body even. So same thing here, you can lift up towards yourself, come back to it, and then come all the way up. I'm obviously not holding it for 15 to 20 seconds, but just keep that number in the back of your mind just to really activate that stretch complex. So the second stretch that we want to do, especially with a lot of us being seated for our jobs, while we're trying to relax, being comfortable, things like that, just talking to people. So what we're going to do is really get into our hip flexors. And so this is really going to be important because if we've been seated for longer than 30 to 45 minutes, our hip flexor muscles shut off. And so what happens is while we're seated, they shorten, and then when they shut off, they're going to be a lot tighter. And so when you stand up, it's really going to pull in those areas, and they're going to be a lot tighter, which can lead to a ton of issues, especially low back pain. So what we're going to do is it's a really simple stretch, but it makes a huge impact. So we're going to have, if you're going to stretch your left hip flexor, what we're going to do is we're going to have our left foot back, but the goal really is to keep basically the leg straight, have the heel stay on the ground, and just lunge out with the right foot. And so we want to keep that leg straight so it isolates those hip flexors. And we want to really keep a good base. And what I mean by that is basically you want a hard line between your hips to your shoulders. And so all we're going to do is we're just going to lean this leg forward, we're going to bend the right knee, and we're still going to keep that good base. And that in itself, this stretch is really going to get into your hip flexors here. And so the same thing as before, 15 to 20 seconds, and really just activate that stretch complex and just allow that muscle to lengthen and just really loosen up. And we want it to be as limber as possible, especially after we've been seated for a while, because we want to turn those muscles back on, and we want to be as long as possible. And so same thing, anytime we do one thing to one side, we want to do it to the other. So same thing here, stretch out or step out a good ways, allow your heel to stay on the ground, back leg straight, keep a good base, and just lean forward with the left knee, keeping that right knee straight. And it's really good. You're going to feel a really good stretch here. It may not be the most comfortable thing in the world, but it's going to be absolutely vital to really lengthen and stretch that muscle out there, that muscle group basically. And like I said, 15 to 20 seconds should be great, and do it multiple times if you can, especially since we're going to be seated a lot more nowadays, but really just keep the body as loose as possible. So the second thing we're going to do while I'm standing, and this is also going to get into our hip flexors, however, it's also going to really affect our quads. And it's a stretch we've all done before. If you need to like stabilize anywhere, because we're going to be on one leg, but if we want to stabilize anywhere, make sure you're leaning against something or have your hand on a wall or anything like that. So what we're going to do is just bring one leg up. We're going to grab our heel right, or grab our foot right here, and just basically just pull. And if you want a bigger, deeper stretch, clench your glute basically, draw that knee back, and it's just you're gonna feel a big pull here in your quads, here in your hip flexors, everything like that. But the whole point is to keep our lower half as flexible and limber as possible. It's just gonna be huge as far as joint health, muscle health, everything like that, which is gonna be a lot more important now that we have a lot more downtime. So like I said, I'll do it one more time. So just grab here, you can bring it to your glute, or you can clench your glute like we talked about before and bringing that back, which is going to be huge, and you're going to feel a huge stretch, which is going to help your knees, going to help your hips, low back, everything. And then like we've talked about, anything we do to one side, we want to make sure to do it to the other side as well. So you want to be here, same thing. Bring your heel to your glute, and if you can't, just doing this motion is going to be huge. But then you can also, like I said, clench your glute, draw your leg back, and it's really going to get a good stretch in the front half of those legs. These are just really basic stretches, but they do a lot as far as just incorporating a lot of different muscle groups as well. So the last stretch that we want to talk about is going to be hamstrings. I know everyone knows the stretch as far as keeping your feet shoulder width apart and just bending over and touching your toes. But the main thing that we really want to talk about is a lot of the time when people do that, they arch their back. And what that's going to do, it's going to put a ton of pressure here on your lower lumbar, low back area, and it's just going to put a ton of stress there that's really not meant to be there. So what we want to do is really make sure that we keep shoulders over hips, basically through the entire thing, and we want a straight line from our head down to our glutes. And so what we want to do is really engage those back muscles and then bend forward, and then just like that, and you can go as low as you want as long as you really keep that form, but this is really going to stretch our hamstrings and our glutes here, which is going to be huge. And there's a couple of different variations you can do with that. You can bring a leg up and put it on a table, and you can just keep the same thing, body structure, body position correct, and everything like that, and just lean forward basically, and that's going to really stretch out this entire leg complex right here. Or you can do it with, or if you're not that flexible or can't bring your leg up for whatever reason, that's totally fine. Just want to meet you where you're at. We can also just put a heel on the floor, bend this knee here for stabilization, and same thing, just come right down to it. So basically what that's going to do, it's going to stretch out this whole backside, and that's going to be a really big part of just keeping your lower body limber, realistically, just allowing those stretches to really take over. Same thing that we talked about before, 15 to 20 seconds is going to be great. Doing it on both sides to really make sure that both sides are as loose as possible to keep the body even. And I know it's not a lot, I just wanted to give you a few things to be able to do at home, just to be able to stretch as much as you can, just keep the body as limber as possible. It shouldn't take any more than 5 minutes realistically, or you can shorten it and just do 1 minute, like a couple times throughout your day. But this is really going to be important to really promote the healthier muscles, the healthier low back, the basically full body health. So what we want to do is just keep everything as loose and limber as possible. Alright, so just want to touch on those stretches. Hope everybody's staying safe at home. Hope you're enjoying your time with your loved ones. If you have any questions, please feel free to shoot us an email, contact us on Facebook, anything like that, or we can just talk to you when you come to the office for your adjustment. Hope this was helpful for everybody. Stay safe out there, and we'll see you soon.